All right. I believe we are live. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Trey Gallaher, and welcome to my stream. Tonight, I'm going to be doing some revising of some gesture drawings on a character design I've been working on here on stream. And I'm going to explore a little bit of some poses and some gestures. Try to find one that I think that's going to work. And I think I have one that's going to work. And give it a little bit of a cleanup, sort of an ink drawing, I guess, over the top. And if we get time, I'm going to return back to a little bit of a head detail study that we were doing from a couple of episodes ago. So, should be fun. Truth be told, this was a relaunch tonight. We went live a little bit earlier, and we had something went down, so I had to reboot. So we're kind of back for a second time, but we'll treat it like it's the first. So anyway, these things happen. Technology. Anyway, I hope you're doing well out there. I hope you've had a creative week and that all your projects have been moving forward, that you've got some time to yourself and to work on your projects. This stream, it will be open for conversation. So if you have something you'd like to ask, or if you want to chime into the chat is open. I try to keep an eye on it while it's open, and I'll respond as long as I can remember to look over and see that the window's open. So, but I encourage people to ask questions, and I encourage you to chime in if you're watching this live. If you're not, and you're catching this on the rerun on YouTube, then on my YouTube channel, then that's okay too. You can enjoy. But otherwise, we are live at the moment, so I hope you're having a good day or an evening or a morning whenever you're watching this. We just had a wonderful day with the family, had a chance to get outdoors a little bit, played some soccer with my son, and it's good to get out and stretch it out a bit, kind of warming up. Maybe we'll get a real soccer season this year. Not sure. Things are looking a little better out there for people. I hope you're staying safe. But welcome, and let's spend some time together. Hopefully you got a beverage or something that you like. For me tonight, it's tea. Love my tea. All right. Well, as you can see here on screen, I have a couple of quick gestures that we did when we last left off. And I think this originally came from episode 11. But I wanted to do more of these. So we're going to do a few more poses. And I have a few here that I want to show you. And then we're going to continue to kind of do a cleanup on one of them. I'm looking for something that is what they might call a dynamic pose. And in character design, this is something that sort of conveys the body language of the character, but at the same time isn't hiding the physical design of the character either. So nothing too extreme or too much action, but does give us a sense of attitude coming from the pose. So that's really what I'm after, because really we're just kind of developing this character through these streams. So it's a chance to kind of see the process and have a little fun and see what we come up with. I don't really come to this one with too much preliminary work at all, unless you've been watching the previous streams. But so I'm just going to see where it goes while we're live. So pull up. Let's spend some time together. I don't play music just because of proprietary and copyright issues. So put on some music of your own. I got some Naughty by Nature going tonight. I'm kind of going old school. But whatever you have, put something on. Maybe it's your jazz night, or maybe it's your metal night, or maybe you're doing some hip hop like me. But put on something. Keep me on in the background. Draw with me if you got work to do. Do some of your own, and let's spend some time. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me check the stream, make sure everything's healthy. It does. It looks like we're doing well. Yes. All right. So here we go. All right. So just to kind of check where we are, I'm going to take a few things off. So I had, I sort of started with this pose, which was a little stiff, and I was just kind of getting proportions down. And then my next pose was this one, which I actually had the loose one first, and then working with a little bit of cleanup over the top. And then obviously a side view didn't help me too much in showing off sort of a dynamic pose, so then I went for something with a little bit more action. And I like this pose, but as it looks like he's doing something towards the ground. But as we did in episode 12, where we looked at the actual livestock that he is herding or shepherding or trafficking, we ended up with a design that was much bigger and something a little closer to maybe like cattle size or smaller size cattle, with elements of like a boar. So if you look at episode 12, you can see what we did for that. But that now tells me that he probably wouldn't be aiming down quite so far like this. So as much as I like the gesture and the gravity and the center of gravity and the balance and all that, I think I needed something a little bit more. So from here, I turned off, let's see, I think I kept that one, turned off this one, and I worked up these two. And so this was sort of the last two poses, which I liked. And this first one here is very much getting to the right place. I like this, but it a little bit too stagnant. It might be him in action, but I didn't want necessarily too much action. And so there's something there. I might use it in a later drawing of sorts, but I just wanted something a little more stance-like. So this is where we ended up now with the final one, which is over here. And this one kind of has a little bit of that three-quarter view, head's kind of turned, sort of looking off in the distance. Maybe he has his binoculars in hand down below here. And it just started breaking in on this. So I'm going to polish this one up a little bit. And when I say polish, that might be the wrong word. Add a few more details and then decide if I'm ready to ink this one tonight. And at least do a tight ink drawing. Something a little more cleaned up that presents a little bit better with all the details. Maybe something a little closer to this one. Something a little closer to that in terms of the level of finish. Okay, so that's where we are. And so I'll finish up here, and then we'll maybe gravitate back over to that head study that we were doing back in episode 11, because I really did want to finish that up with a little bit more detail, and then maybe start to combine a few of these things together. All right, so here we go. I'm actually working on a Cintiq, so a little bit of a larger screen. And so I have a little bit more room to spread out. I have menus here, but they're off screen just so you guys are able to see the drawing part a little bit closer. Nothing fancy, just I'm actually working in Photoshop. I only have a couple of layers going here. So I will now do a little bit more detail. Now, what you guys may or may not remember if you were tuning in from before, from previous episodes, is I have my preliminary designs for this character, which you can again go back and see in 8, 9, 10, and 11. I have those drawings actually over here to my left, and you can't see it, but I have them kind of spread out so I can kind of reference and look at something that we had talked about in those episodes if I needed those details. Okay, so here we go. Kind of got our helmet design, a little bit of a Centurion look, which we had talked about before. And the great thing about doing gestures like this is that every time you draw this thing, you are working out more and more and more details. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so maybe you can see what I'm doing. Move a little bit more center here off screen. So every time you draw it, you're getting a little bit better and a little bit better. Now we decided that his abdominal region kind of had these sort of pads sort of protecting the abdominal region. Then we also talked about him probably having this kind of utility belt with various tools that he might use. If you've ever watched people dealing with livestock, you know that there could be things like trimming toenails or punching hole through ears for tagging, or rope ties or things like that. So I figure he's going to have this kind of futuristic looking utility belt. We talked about the sort of floating cod piece here, which is sort of protect a shot there that might happen. And then before I get too far down, we had the shoulder pads, which we know kind of hang over the top here, kind of come to these points. And again, most of this stuff is sort of in a state of change. So none of this is set in stone per se. And every time I draw it, I think of things that I didn't think of before. So a little bit of pads over the arms there. And I think, when we talked about this design originally, we were thinking that, a lot of this was stuff he's fabricated himself. So pieces that he's built, put on here, sort of attached, low tech, definitely low tech. Like we were even talking about maybe these abdominal pads as being even connected to each other with like either rope or string. This is not a guy that has a lot of money for like customization, machine-made parts. This is not military per se. I'm going to lighten up a little bit here on my spinal cord preliminary drawing. Again, staying loose in the beginning. There's always time for revision to get tighter. We know that in previous designs that he's going to wear this kind of vest underneath. This thing kind of hangs on his body, if you will. We have some sort of leg pads. Again, attaching. Hope you guys are having a good one out there tonight. Thanks for stopping by. If you came by early, I apologize that we had to do the reboot, but these things happen. I'm going to bring that leg out a little bit farther. If you're new to my stream, I'm just going to say I'm kind of starting to use Discord a little bit more for announcements of when I'm going live or upcoming events, things like that. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to check out my Discord link down below in my bio section here. I was thinking he may do some sort of wrap around the legs. So this could be like cloth for protection. I didn't necessarily want shin guards per se. So for now I kind of had these wrappings which might be really tough but also flexible. And again, he's just protecting the major body parts in case he catches a tusk or gets a bite or gets rammed into something. He's got some protection. But this is all kind of his own fabrication. So when we were designing this in earlier stages, we had to think about how these pads attach themselves. Maybe some straps that go around the back, a little bit around the arms. And again, a lot of this is really designed to hang off the body. Maybe almost like an apron, like this whole torso piece might be like an apron that would put over and it would sort of hang down here. Maybe a little bit of connection between them. And then maybe these actually wrap around the side. Again, sometimes the more you draw things, the more it begins to kind of make sense, and you realize, oh, I didn't even consider that. Maybe I need to do something with that. I'm going to take away a little bit just to make sure I'm not losing track of the main pieces that I'm looking for here. So this is sort of helmet, which again maybe we'll get to in a little bit. Kind of got he has this sort of little bit of a breather piece. He's out in the dust, wide open spaces. A lot of crap gets kicked up in the air, so he has a little bit of a breather, but he has this sort of big headpiece here. And this helmet, which we talked about previously, which is really two pieces. It's sort of a front piece and a back piece. A little bit of a strap. Okay. We also talked a little bit about some sort of rustic boots, but something that also maybe gives enough flexibility. Maybe some pads on the arms. Although I'm also thinking maybe the arms might not have pads. Well, we'll keep pads for now. At least on this one. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Kind of coming together here. Pretty good pose. I think we talked about him maybe having some sort of scope or at least sighter that he could see long distances. Didn't really want him having a gun per se. I was looking for something that was maybe more of a tool than a weapon. Maybe it's got some sort of interesting inlay down here. Or maybe some sort of bar. He can hold it in a couple of interesting ways. Okay, not bad. Pretty cool. So I think maybe I'll scale this up just a little bit. down. Okay. Let's also put him on his own layer. Okay, I think I like this one best. So I think for now I'm going to do a little bit of detail cleanup on this. So I will turn these guys off, kind of concentrate a little bit more on this one. And I'll do this on its own layer, and I'll pick a different, slightly different tool. I'm going to go with more of an even line than a black line. Okay. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Okay. So I'm going to get in there a little more detail. So I hope you're all being safe out there. I hope you're all maybe getting a shot at some vaccines. They seem like they're really rolling out now, but they're also going fast. So I know here in San Francisco, we had a batch in the beginning that kind of came through, but they went super fast, like within a really short amount of time. They were gone. We almost were able to get a vaccine, but even within minutes of trying to fill in the information, boom, appointment was gone. So I know it's really tough. I hope you're all getting a chance to find yourself one. Get them while you can, because they do seem to be going fast. And whichever one you decide to get, it's almost not a choice now. You just get what you can get. let's get safe. Let's get everybody covered. So I think the sooner we can get back to a little more normal interaction in public spaces, if we're all gonna be doing our part to be safe. So get it as soon as you can. I hope you're all being safe out there, and I hope you're all doing okay. These are tough times that we're in. I can't believe it's been a year. I mean, it's like everyone else. It's kind of mind blowing. Hopefully, your creative projects have been able to keep you busy, keep you preoccupied a little bit. Okay. So I'm kind of doing the pads here. And I'm not going to get into what I would consider renders on these, but it's more like I'm just blocking in for proportion where these pads are. Give me something that if I want to do a little bit more of a render over, I can. So I was picturing that he's holding these binoculars here. They have some sort of again, I wouldn't call this quite cleanup, not a super tight ink, but more like just three quarters clean. Would probably definitely want to do an even cleaner one if I was going to do a super high render, but this at least gives me something that I can present as a concept, which is really what I'm after here. It's presenting an idea. And as long as it can kind of be seen enough that you're getting the idea of its shape language and functionality, and that tells us a little bit about how it works. So we were kind of saying that the ribs would sort of come in here. Not worried about every little detail. These sort of leg pads coming down here over the top. Again, these are things that looks like he probably faceted these himself. Little bits of straps on the sides. Knee pads, probably nothing super fancy, just kind of for those situations where he's got to get down and wrestle maybe one of his livestock. Always got to do your wrestling. Sort of moving my way down. Probably be in pretty good shape. Okay. So we're probably talking about the thigh coming up in here. And again, I can check against, turning things off. I'm going to get a first initial pass first. Picturing he probably has some gloves here. Maybe they go over the fingers a little bit. Maybe the fingers are open. Not exactly sure. Okay. Moving down. Kind of futuristic Dickies or something. The brand. So there could be some sort of maybe little cleats. But again, supportive at the same time. These might have been something that he bought maybe at the next destination that he's heading to. All right. We're getting there. Okay. I'll move over here a little bit towards the staff. I always liked on the end of rifles and guns was that idea of a silencer. And bring this line down here. Now this is the sort of really maybe machine-made part, so these might have to use some more exacting lines. One of the nice parts about working with digital tools is mechanical lines are a lot easier to do. You have a ruler at your fingertips, so that's good. I like the idea of this kind of hole here cut in the middle. I'm not sure why, but I like it. Okay. How are we coming? Looking pretty good. Not bad. Maybe a little pectoralis there. Cutting in. So we have a sense of the anatomy underneath, but as we saw in earlier designs, he's kind of wearing this bodysuit. So he's got these wrappings. Which I figured would sort of insulate. Early padding, they didn't obviously have metallurgy and the controlling of, you know, the elements as well, so they had to use more cloth-based stuff. If you look at feudal Japan, you know, a lot of early armament was just leather and stitching done so tight that the layers gave the protection. And it also gave flexibility. So if you had to move, you weren't clunk, clunk, clunk with all this armament, right? So you're working with material that could breathe a little bit more, move a little bit more. Now, it didn't quite have the resistance that metal would eventually, but it had a lot of pluses too. So some parts of this, he's got to have hard plating. His internal organs have to be protected, you know. But if you could use some wrapping, it might do a little bit better job of giving him light, flexible movement, specifically like in his legs to be able to run if he has to, or jump over something. So the arms are a good question. The arms might be fun to maybe. Well, I could do a version with the arms in wraps as well. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe right now I will duplicate this. Turn this one off. And on these arms, I'm going to take off the padding. And I'm going to do a little bit more of the wrapping, maybe like we see around his shins. Okay, so maybe we do a little bit more. I like the wrapping thing. There's something kind of ancient about that. Also gives me a chance to kind of build in the contouring a little bit. So maybe the arms have a little bit more of this wrapping idea up to the elbow. We'll leave it there. Okay. So the inside of the arm, maybe we're talking about this. That's kind of cool. I like that actually. And then these are maybe more glove-like work gloves, but they maybe they have some shielding on the back, a little bit on the fingers. Be stitched in. Gives them a little bit of protection there. All right. Not bad. Digging it. Digging it a lot. Okay. So, not sure how much more I'm going to do from here. Maybe I'll do a few more fastening places. These could maybe clip on here too. I don't know. He might need that shoulder free. Okay. But these definitely attach up top here. So wherever there's an attachment, there's going to be hope you guys are doing well out there. Thanks for joining me tonight. Feel free to chime into the chat if you feel like it. It's just us. All right. It's pretty good. Any place else? Absolutely essential. Oh, we did talk about the chin strap. So there is a little bit of a chin strap coming up underneath there. And again, sort of underneath the face, or underneath the mask, he's wearing this kind of cloth hoodie, sort of for sweat. So it has sort of an opening with the breather in it, but a lot of this is kind of dark stuff. So a lot of this you wouldn't really see very much. Now, instead of going into a full-on render here, I'm going to jump back over to my other design, which was the helmet. So let's quickly save this. Always good to save. Good practice. So we're kind of working with this guy. And let me open up a different file. Which was our helmet. Now let me make sure that this is showing inside my Photoshop window here. There we go. It made it. So maybe you remember this one from back episode 11, which was working with this sort of helmet design. And just to take you back there a little bit, we had sort of started with this design here. So we had sort of a base, and we talked about the mouthpiece and the hoodie, and that's that hood that we were just talking about there. And then here's sort of the armament pieces over the top, which again came from other preliminary pieces. The second head shape, the second piece on the back of the head, and you can see the strap actually goes underneath. So here we go. Then we started building in some tones, some shadows, building up some tones, working in sort of a 3-value system. And again, all of this actually had this sort of inking drawn layer first. And then we were doing little bits of highlight. So I think what I wanted to do with the rest of this was to kind of work on maybe a little bit more of the reflections, because I wanted this to feel a bit more metallic, I guess. So let me do this. I'm going to save this one as, give it a slightly different name. We'll just call this 2. Just so I have my original 2 work over the top. Okay. So here we go. I'm just gonna kind of polish this thing and work on it a little bit more, and it's been a little while, so I've had some fresh eyes on it, and I can kind of see what needs to be there. And considering little details, like if he forged this thing and made this thing rather crudely, then it's probably going to need some of those details to show kind of wear and construction, and this was just a base block in that we were working with last time. So here we go. I'm trying to remember what this area was over here. Talked about knocking the skin back a bit. Those are shadows. I'll find it. There it was. Oh, I think that was part of the strap. That's what we were doing there. Okay. Okay, let me group things up a little bit here first. Get these in the... Again, I don't generally play music here, but I encourage you to be listening to some of your own. I apologize sometimes if it's on the quiet side, but again, copyright, proprietary, all that good stuff. You can always put on your own stuff in the background. I am. just grouping some things real quick here. For a little bit of cleanup. Okay. Sort of the skin area, mouthpiece. Also helping familiarize myself with my layers. Again, I haven't really touched this since we last worked on it. Okay. So we need a little bit of definition, I think, around the chin and maybe the face. Okay. All right. So I think come in on the line art layer here. Give this chin a little bit more. A little bit of chin under there. Light is sort of landing behind here, so I had a little bit of this lighter gray. Okay, so maybe above this. Okay. So what I'm working up here is a little bit of a sense of dimension to this maybe sheet he's wearing, this hood underneath. It's catching a little bit of light. Little bits of highlight in here to help kind of define the face a little bit more. Again, it's just cloth, so I don't know how perfect or form-fitting it needs to be. It's probably kind of loose, but I want to control that a little bit more. Again, sense of light, maybe hitting the cheek on this cloth. Just to give it a little bit of dimension. Okay, that's good. I'm going to kind of take this piece by piece. I need to get in here a little tighter. There we go. Okay. Now the tendency is to get really, really detailed with this and maybe overwork it, and I'm not looking for something that tight, so I don't want to get too close working in over the top here. Because it'll just be too much detail. So I'm looking to kind of soften some edges out. These are sort of transitions that we'll need to a little too much. Okay. Okay. Change in plane there a little bit. Okay. Hmm. All right, we're getting there. Getting a little better transitions out of there. Just trying to get these gradients to be a little smoother. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but trying to get a little bit more. There we go. Just make these gradients blend a little bit. And sometimes you can kind of soften it with brushes, or maybe we could do a little bit of a gradient over the top. So we'll pick a little bit of a controlled space with a selection. And let's see if we can give this a little bit of a dusting. Let me augment that selection a little bit. So we're trying to show the curvature of that helmet. Okay, let's try the gradient again. Well, that's almost a little better than what I have underneath there. I do not like that selection, though. So let me get this selection piece a little bit more. Let's save that. So sometimes working with selections, for uniform things is easier to use a gradient. So we'll call this side helmet. So I can get that back if I need to. Let me do a little bit of this selection stuff on the side of this helmet too. Now let's drop back on the opacity. That's not bad. Gives it a little bit more smoothness in there. I'll take it. Save selection. Okay, let's do this front piece now. So what we're doing is we're working on smoothing out these gradient pieces so it feels a little more mech, I guess, or a little more metal, made out of metal. So even though I have my blends underneath there, I'm doing a gradient to help smoothen that. So let's see here. Gonna go down to the horizon line. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm just using it to help smoothen things out. So again, let's try this one. And then let's maybe dial it back a little because I don't, excuse me. New layer. Now we do it. I like that better than what I had there. Okay, save selection. Front. Call this forehead. All right, so again, we're just working on smoothing out some of these gradients to make these pieces read a little bit more metallic-like. Okay. Grab a little bit more of that one. Okay, and let's do a gradient here as well. I think this gradient may need to be, Well, maybe I can erase part of this. So select, I want to get these pieces back. Forehead lower. Okay. So I got that saved. By the way, selections are all saved over here in channels. So let's do a little bit of erasing here because I liked some of my dark areas I had in there. Okay, and back to this one. I like a little bit of this one back here as well. There we go. I like that better. All right. A few more to go. I'm going to work on this gradient here on the side. And I'm going to do my gradient here. Again over the top. Let's do a little lower. A little lower. That's good. We'll save selection. We'll call this cheek piece. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a deleting there. I like that. That's good. All right. Let's do it again for this piece. Again, these don't have to be perfect selections because we're just using it in addition to what we painted underneath, so it's kind of a blend of the two. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I want to take a little of this away though. There we go. Okay. We'll call this selection the chin piece. And here we go. Let's try this. Smoothens that out a little bit. A little lower, and then, oh, sorry. Wanted to do this on its own layer. Then we'll dust that. Come back a little bit with that. I like that sort of dimensional piece like that. All right. Not bad. Not bad. Things are coming along. It's looking a little more smooth. And I think I'll be just about ready to go in and do some detail line work. How we doing on time? All right. How are you guys doing? You getting your work done? Hope you guys are having a good evening. Feel free to chime in if you want to say hello, or remember that if you do miss me here on the stream live, I bump these for a while. They're on Twitch, and I usually make a highlight for it. But if you want to catch the full stream, I move them over to my YouTube page. So you can catch me on YouTube at Trey Gallaher, and you'll usually see it there in about a week later. So if you do ever miss a stream, I do have them posted there, and you can watch the whole thing again. But thanks for joining me tonight. If you're interested in my work, you can also check me out at treygallaher.com and on Instagram, Trey Gallaher, and Facebook, art by Trey Gallaher. And you guessed it, on Twitter, if you like to follow Twitter instead. All right. Let's do the cheeks. I think the cheeks need a little bit of help here too. A little bit of smoothing. They're not bad, but it would be really nice just to get them a little more perfect. So making a selection there. And you know what? This other cheek is actually pretty much on the same plane, so I'm going to grab both. And let's do it between the two of them. New layer. We'll call this the occipital, or eyepiece, maybe. And we'll save this selection. Always save your selections so you can pull them up again. Here we go. Gradient. See, it just makes it just that little bit of extra something perfect that you could spend a really long time trying to do by hand, or you could just let computers do what computers do so well. I'm doing a little cleanup here on my layers. All right, there we go. Okay. I think I'm ready to start cleaning this thing up a little bit. So back to some of these layers just to start finalizing things a little bit more. And got my little key over here, but I'll probably end up just hiding that layer. Little bit of cleanup over here, I see. Get myself something a little more. Little bits of overspray, stuff like that. Okay. Hoodie highlights, by the way. I need a little bit more hoodie highlights. Again, little places where the light Now we'll soften a few of these edges. All right. A little more cleanup here. I'm going to do this a different way. Let's do it this way. That's a little better. Okay. Just a little cleanup here. All right. So I think, at this stage, this is sort of piecing together a concept that really started with just drawings, and now we're doing something that's giving a little bit more of a finished look to it. I wouldn't call this an illustration, but I would call this sort of a concept rendering, I guess. It is more than a sketch. We're definitely incorporating elements of value. Anytime you're doing elements of value, you're rendering. So we're definitely rendering, but I wouldn't call this quite finished level. But it's enough to really give the idea of what this thing would look like or kind of feel like. And so, it's looking cleaned up, definitely better. Those gradients helped. And I think what it needs for me now is a little bit more detail, little things like facets, dings, trim, little places of detail where your brain wants to see more information. Could be texture, but it could also be just functional stuff like how does this attach to this or how does that attach to that. So I think what I'm going to do, it needs a little bit more information. So this should be pretty fun because really the values are in place now. So now from here we can really kind of have fun with the details, and it's going to only make it look better at this point. So let's jump back up here to ink layer, and I'm going to open another layer over here and go details. Ink. Close up the helmet just to kind of simplify things. I realize you're not seeing my layers, so probably doesn't mean anything to you. Deselect. One little area I need to erase. And the key is guessing where it is. Oh, hoodie highlights. No. Aha! There it is. A little bit of that. There we go. Also, good time to save. So, a little bit more. Appreciate you hanging out with me tonight or day, whenever it is that you're watching. Hopefully you're getting your work done too. So details ink. Let's go with something a little crispier, a little cleaner, a little texture in there. Not much. So details. Where would we see some little details? Incidentals, they could almost be. But like for instance, I know in here there's a strap. So this is got to be the top layer, by the way. So we're going to put a little bit of some little rivets there. Any place like this that might have where it needs a little bit of help. Thinking a little bit about dimension, shadows, that kind of thing. I'm kind of liking this little detail on the nose piece here. So maybe we'll put little bits of I don't think that we have to get into the super nitty-gritty, just a suggestion of how it's attaching. And for the most part, I think this can all be handled on one layer at this point. I don't think we have to get into... This is just polishing, finishing touches. That's going to be my strap over there. We need a little bit of some line work here. We'll add a little bit of line work and detail there. You know, in the end, as long as everything reads, it really doesn't matter too much how you're constructing it underneath. I'm going to put a little shadow on this side of my mouthpiece. Give it a little dimension. A little bit of contrast in there just to help it read a little bit. Picture it's some sort of screen, probably for breathing, screening out stuff, filtering dust particles. A little thickness to the metal there. Aha. It's skin layer. There it is. Looking to get in here. There we go. Not bad. This is very much at this point, it's your instincts. It's turning a little bit so that I can, it's one of the best features I think of having a Cintiq is being able to do that. Go up a little bit. Now let's figure out what's this thing. Got a little piece of sloppiness up in here. There we go. Back to my details. There we go. Okay. Go in a little tighter for details around the eyes. Just going to give a little bit of a little bit more of the human inside there. Maybe not so pretty, a little more mature. I don't like that one. Into the little deets now. Actually, I'm going to try a little bit of a softer gray and maybe go in on the skin a little bit. Just to, I don't want to go black necessarily with everything. But I do want a sense of lines in there. Turning little edges. This is the fine tuning now. Keeping in mind it's probably going to be seen from this distance out here. Oh, the strap. See? This helps tell us. This strap needs a little bit of, whoa, excuse me. Turn touch off there. I'm also kind of thinking that I need to probably make this strap a little bit darker. It seems like it stands out. It's really something you're almost seeing just incidentally, so I think I need to knock this back, which means I'm going to put it back inside my helmet. It's got to go behind stuff. Okay. Use just something kind of soft. And I'm going to go with a multiply. Just to kind of... Okay, now... back edge of that head inside the helmet, I think, needs a little bit of reflected light back in there, so I'm going to bring in just a smidge. Of a little bit of light in there. This would be sort of like the highlights on the neck piece. Really small. Just a whisper of the back of the head, kind of. What the head's kind of doing in there. How's that look? Just kind of a suggestion that it's and maybe a suggestion even that there's a little bit of the ear happening there. Because the ear is happening sort of back in there just a little bit. I didn't want it to disappear completely. Sort of. Alright. More dings in the helmet. And maybe some texture. The texturing stuff could go on for a long time. Too dark. Remember where your texture happens, everybody. Just giving a little sense of it's almost like you're inking in a way, right? But I just want a little bits of texture there. Staying consistent with the directions. I hope this isn't too much like watching paint dry. This might be not kind of slow, I don't know. Let me get in there. Let me show you a little bit of what I'm doing. Doing a little bit of this kind of cross-hatching just to build up a little bit of texture in a few of the places where the lights and the shadows are coming together, right? Just for interest. Give it something a little more than just so that we know that this does have a little bit of texture to it. This is sort of the equivalent of like what an inker might do, following the contours a little bit. It's the kind of thing where from a distance you might not even really see because the values are so close. But if you look a little bit closer, you're going to get some of this. And I'm picturing it some sort of knit. Gives the eye a little bit more something to look at if it really wants to. I am paying a little attention to the direction or the thickness of the lines being somewhat uniform and in the same direction. But it's not absolutely machine mechanical. It's just all right. Looks like pretty tough stuff though, which I think is good. All right, let's back up a bit. That's good. That's reading nicely. I like it. Okay. Gosh. You know, I think for this one, we're getting close to calling it. I feel like maybe the eyes skin tone needs to come down. I feel like maybe a little bit darker. Do a quick adjustment to these levels. That's good. Like that a little bit. It brings a little more mystery in there. Skin shadows. Let's bring the shadows down a little bit. The whites of the eyes also need to be a little bit dimmer. They're a little bright. A little bit of too much pure white coming through. So let's see. Have to think about how we would do this. It's underneath all that. So maybe we put this on the absolute bottommost layer. Again, I understand you're not really whites of eyes. A little too bright. So let's dim them down. And let's go with something that just knocks the white back a little bit. Let's go even a little grayer. Ooh. All right. I feel like maybe I got to get one more gradient in there too. How are we coming? So let's pick a selection. I'm going to come in here and throw a little bit of gradient in here. Because I think it needs a little help. So this is back in on the helmet. I realize you're not seeing, so it doesn't do much for you. But cheek piece, let's go one above this. Inner side, we'll call this. And we want to save our selection, by the way. Inner side helmet piece. All right, here we go. Let's do that gradient. Give it a little help. Ooh. Okay. Let's do some erasing of this gradient. Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. There we go. All right. Well, I could probably go into a lot more detail, but I'm not sure how much more this is going to really help to do that. We are a little over 2 bills. Maybe just a few dings, huh? Let's try for a few dings and see if that's just enough. I'm going to come in with not exactly black. Let's come in with close to black and see if we can put some scuffs and stuff. It's a little bit smooth. This would be up on my details layer. And let's go with something kind of chunky. Maybe let's go even some lighter scuffs. Again, that random thing. Nice part is you can always turn these off, so if it's not reading right, you can always kind of come in and erase them. Usually every one of these dings is also creating a highlight. So there's a little bit of a light and a little bit of a dark line. Problem is my lines are looking all very, very similar, aren't they? Let's break things up a little bit. They're scrapes, not lines. Scuffs. Maybe I even got to do a custom brush or something. What do we got here? No. Let's do shape dynamics. What else we got? Okay. Let's do a quick file save. I think for a little bit I gotta get off this guy, get some fresh eyes, because I feel like we're getting into some territory that I'm not going to be able to tell because I've been at this so long. So I feel like some of these are maybe a little too much, same direction. So we'll back off a little bit on these. Just for positioning, I'm gonna block out my key here. File save. Let's simplify some things. Now, we also have our other herder design in here. So why don't we do this? We'll go back to don't want to do that. Come back over here for a second. And then I'm going to pull in this guy over here. Wait. Let's pull them together. Dupe. These two. Group. And let's pull the whole group over so the line comes with it. There we go. This guy over here we'll just save for now. Close him up. And now we're getting a chance to see these two kind of together now. Which I have to say, I like how it's coming together. You know, I think it's got some, let's do a little, got some possibilities here. I'm going to do a little cleanup just so I can get this maybe. Let's build a little stronger silhouette. I'm mostly just cleaning up outer edge here. So that I get a chance to really see what my line work is doing. And if I need to clean any of this up, or if I need to redraw any of those inked lines. Again, I'm not, this isn't a production Bible. This is not absolute. This is just a concept. So, you know, I think in terms of getting the idea across, we're pretty close. Sometimes these little scratch lines are very effective for building up a little bit of tone, and that's kind of what's happening here. If they're distracting, maybe I'll take them out a little bit. But sometimes they're not bad. I think if it makes something confusing, then maybe we want to. Not exactly sure what we're going to call this guy yet. He's called the shepherd. Oh yeah, one other thing I was going to add down here was a ground shadow. So let's do that. Let's go with something really light. Okay. One last thing I realized I wanted to add here, which going back to my original design, if you remember from episode 8, I think the first one, he had a cape, which maybe I want to keep it, maybe I don't, but I do want to at least see what the cape kind of feels like. So I think one thing I'm going to add here is a little bit of a drawing of the cape. So by the way, let's save this as okay. Come back over here. Let's go to brushes. And let's try something. Now I'm kind of looking at what I had before, and we thought that, maybe underneath this thing there might be something a little bit like this, but I'm realizing I want something darker. Don't know if I like that. Let's try it with a little smaller size. Let's fix this part a little bit over here. Giving a little bit of dimension to it. We've worked so hard to get so much dimension already. It would make sense to so kind of a fold there, maybe kind of a fold there. Let's go with that for now, for this rendition. All right. Fine tuning and a little bit of maybe we'll try a value render a little bit next time. So leave a little bit for you. I hope you can join me. Thank you for joining me if you've been on this long journey tonight. This has been a rather long one. Hey, sorry, I was just noticing. Is it a speaker? Oh, I see, on the mouthpiece. No, I think it's a great question. The mouthpiece is actually sort of a filtering device. In earlier episodes, we were looking at having this be something that a person would be wearing in a very dusty, dirty place. So this is sort of breathing apparatus. This is sort of temperatures of extreme temperatures, and this is where the conditions are really poor. So the idea is that this would be a protector, sort of like a mask, I guess. Maybe a little inspiration from what we've all been doing for the last year. So yeah, sort of a breathing apparatus, I think. But yes, I think your question about Roman influence, definitely. We were talking about centurion sort of soldiers kind of idea, but in this case, not purely soldier for us, but maybe somebody who's definitely a tough character who has to have some armament as part of his job. And you can follow the design of this thing back to episode 8 and see how we've come this far. So I think next time I'll work maybe a little bit on a value rendering, maybe play around with some coloring and see where that goes with next. But thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate your comments. Draw Alexander 76. Thanks for the comments. Thanks if you've been hanging out with me. I hope you have a good week. I hope all of your creative projects are fun and that you get lots of time to pursue your passion. And be good to yourself. Be good to others. Be good to our planet. Draw. And I'll catch you next time. I'm usually out here Saturdays in the evenings. So check my schedule, as you'll see on Twitch here, but you can also check out my link to my Discord page where I'll be posting my schedule. All right, guys, have a great week. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you next time.